Hello, and welcome to Stories from India, a podcast where we talk about myths, legends, and folk tales from India. I'm your host, Narad Muni, and I'm a mythological character myself. I have the gift of eternal life and knowledge of the past, the present, and the future. By profession, I'm a traveling musician and a storyteller. So, the way I'm doing my job is by podcast. In this episode, we are continuing the story of Gauri and her magic grove. In the previous episode, we met a stereotypically oppressed stepdaughter who had to do all the chores and then walk for miles minding her cows. She rescued a snake from some villagers who wanted to turn it into a belt or a purse or something worse. She got rewarded for that when it turned out that the snake was a god who could have very well defended himself. Nevertheless, Gauri very selflessly asked for a magic grove for her cows. A grove that was voice activated, environmentally friendly, and it also had to have robotic wheels so that it could follow her around everywhere. And because she had cared more about the comfort of her cows than of herself, Nag, the snake god, threw in a bonus that he would be her guardian angel all the time, like her own personal genie, but without the burden of a lamp and no limit on wishes. She only had to think of Nag and he would appear. Gauri kept the grove hidden from her evil stepmother, Buri, and Buri's daughter, Mauni, as well as her own father, Lachar. But the king of the land, King Pola, stumbled on the grove once while hunting. Impressed with Gauri's personality, he asked to marry her. I'm sure his motive had nothing to do with her stunning good looks and the fact that she owned a mobile, self contained ecosphere, the likes of which the world had never ever seen. Gauri said yes, and the two were soon married. Even though Buri got a massive upgrade in her lifestyle, instead of thanking Gauri, her resentment grew. It's hard to understand why. Being a stereotypical evil stepmother, it's possible that what Buri missed the most was the ability to crush Gauri's spirit. Any number of comforts were not going to change that. Even if it included a personal movie theater, bowling alley, racetrack, swimming pool, and a number of other things all within her mansion. Diwali was coming up in the story, just like it is in real life. That gave Puri an idea to be rid of Gauri, even though Gauri was nowhere on the scene to be rid of. Buri insisted to her husband Lachar that she would send her favorite stepdaughter her favorite sweets. Favorite? Asked Lachar. She's your only stepdaughter. All the more reason to take care of her. I'm going to make gulab jamuns for her myself, said Buri. Lachar pursed his lips and recalled what a terrible cook his wife was. He tried to tactfully suggest that Gauri had every possible comfort in the palace. She could probably get every possible kind of sweet for herself. But Buri's mind was made up. I have made up my mind. I am going to send her poisoned gulab jamun, she said. Oops, did I say that out loud? She added, as Lachar looked at her, shocked. Oh, yes, I'm going to send her paisamed gulab jamun, you know? Gulab jamun stuffed with paisam, or porridge for those unfamiliar with the term. I meant to keep it a surprise, but oh well, now you know. Buri also swore that paisam is what she had said the first time as well, and that Lachar just needed to get his ears checked if he was confusing paisam and poison. Lachar wasn't a very bright guy, so he did not pick up on that. Even after Buri warned him at least a dozen times not to eat any of the gulab jamuns himself, and to only give them to Gauri and no one else. Those gulab jamuns are bad for you, she told Lachar. You're getting older and your hearing is much worse if you're confusing paisam and poison. You should not put your health at risk by eating more gulab jamuns. Lachar did get to the palace and he met his daughter. There was the usual banter about how different Gauri looked, how royal she was in her mannerisms. Eventually, he wished her a happy Diwali and gave her the box of gulab jamuns and left. He refused to try one, even after Gauri offered him many times. Buri had gotten one thing right. Gauri loved gulab jamuns. Gauri pretty much wolfed down all the gulab jamuns in a manner very unbecoming that of a queen. She did not leave even a single one for King Bhola, her husband. And nothing happened to her. If your instinct says that maybe Buri had a change of heart and did not actually poison the sweets, the reality is different. Remember the guardian angel, Nag, the snake god? Well, he got into the action. Snakes, as you probably know, are venom experts, and Nag was no exception. Without Lacha realizing it, Nag had sneakily managed to switch the gulab jamuns for non poison ones. Buri waited for days, and when she did not hear any news of the queen's untimely death, she began to suspect that maybe she had not used a strong enough poison. She tried again, but Nag was watching, and he swapped the sweets again. Buri kept trying to think of ways to hurt the queen, but ultimately, it was a piece of news that Lachar brought back from the palace that gave her a new idea. The news was that the queen was expecting a baby. Buri asked Lachar to turn around and head right back to the palace. What? Why? I just got back after 2 whole days of walking, he protested. But Buri insisted that it was tradition. A woman's first baby must be born in her parents' home, she said. Surely, there should be an exception in this case for the queen, said Lachar. But as usual, Buri had her way. Lachar did go back to the palace and convinced Gauri and Bhola that Gauri's baby must be born in her childhood home, even though it was not actually her childhood home, now that it had been upgraded from a hut to a mansion. Reluctantly, and to avoid offending tradition, Bhola and Gauri agreed. Of course, the grove went along too. So on the way back, they had plenty of shade and lots of delicious fruit to eat. When they returned, Buri was actually nice to Gauri, but she was just pretending. Buri's daughter, Mauni, remained her usual quiet self, but treated her stepsister like the queen that she was. Soon, the baby was born, and everyone was happy. Even the grove had lots of new flowers, as if it was celebrating Gauri's baby's birth. Buri was not actually happy, but she did a good job of hiding it. A few weeks passed. One evening, the day before Gauri and her baby girl were due to return to the palace, Buri made her final attempt on Gauri's life. When the baby was sleeping inside, she took Gauri for a walk. It was just the two of them. Buri made casual conversation, and they kept walking until they happened on a well. Gauri, remembering one of the few happy memories of her childhood, rushed to the well to hear her voice echo. Buri glanced around quickly. There were trees all around, so no one could see. She rushed forward too, and she shoved Gauri into the well. That's all for now. In the next episode, we'll conclude this story and we'll see how easy it is to fool a king. That's all I have for this week. I do want to wish everyone a very happy and safe Diwali. If you have comments or suggestions, or if there are particular stories you'd like to hear, please do let me know by leaving a comment or a review on the site sfipodcast.com or tweet at sfipodcast. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get notified automatically of new episodes. Thanks to all of you listeners for your continued support and your feedback. The music is from purpleplanet.com. That's purple-planet.com. I'll see you next time.